I'd like to welcome everybody to the first virtual career week, sponsored by the Arts Council in partnership with the Career Center and the McMullen Museum at Boston College. Just wanted to let everyone know that this webinar is being recorded. My name is Tatiana Fliss. I'm the program administrator and the Arts Festival director for Boston College's Arts Council. And tonight I will be working with two students, Ali Lardner and Eleni Krupinski. Ali is a senior in the Lynch School of Education and Human Development, majoring in applied psychology and human development with a minor in English and educational theater. And Eleni is a senior in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences, majoring in communications and minoring in French, as well as a minor in management and leadership. Tonight's theme is arts and entertainment writing, the third of a series of webinars this week. Please check the Arts Council webpage for additional information about this week's activities and extended bios on all of our panelists. The link will be placed in the chat section for easy access for those of you who would like to learn more. So tonight's format will be to engage our panelists in a conversation and answer your questions. So please post your questions anytime in the Q&A box found at the bottom of your screen. At approximately 6:50, we'll end up breaking out into our after parties. These will be two separate Zoom links that we will add to our chat box towards the end of the main webinar for easy access. These two different after parties are set up so you can continue the conversation with our panelists. And feel free to enter and exit either Zoom call as you please when we get to that part of the night. Now to our panelists, who represent a diverse set of experiences at various points in their careers. I will give you a brief intro. However, again, those full bios can be found on our website. We will also include some relevant links in the chat if you would like to know more about the amazing work that they're doing. So tonight's guests include Jeff Augistin, class of 2008. Jeff is a playwright and is currently under commission from the Manhattan Theater Club and the La Jolla Playhouse. His plays have also been performed at the Humana Festival, the Roundabout Theater Company, and the Berkeley Rep. Jeff was the Schenck Playwright in Residence at Playwrights Horizons and the inaugural Toe Foundation Playwright in Residence at Roundabout. Erin Dionne, class of 1997. Erin is an author and associate professor at Montserrat College of Art. Her novel, Moxie and the Art of Rule Breaking, a 14-day mystery, is based on the real-life Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum heist and was the 2014 Edgar Award finalist. Elizabeth Flock, class of 2008, is an Emmy Award-writing journalist, author, and documentary filmmaker with a focus on gender and justice. Her features and investigations have appeared on the PBS NewsHour, in the New Yorker Magazine, the New York Times, the Atlantic, and the Washington Post, and many other publications. Julian Kiani, class of 2010, is a comedian and writer that has written on several television shows, including CBS's multi-cam comedy Broke, NBC comedies I Feel Bad and Marlon, ABC's voting special Vote or Miss Out, the NBC variety competition series Bring the Funny, and has contributed to SNL's Weekend Update. Tim Lemire is from the class of 1989, is an author and visual artist based in Providence, Rhode Island. His participation in this very event, Career Night for the Arts, led to his first book, a career guide titled, I'm an English Major, Now What? Currently, Tim is a writer and editor in corporate communications, but he has also a professional background in journalism and creative copywriting. I would like to welcome our esteemed alumni and thank you very much for returning to Boston College to talk to our students. And at this point in time, I'm going to hand the floor over to our two students, Ali and Eleni.
Hi, so we're going to be tag teaming, this discussion. So I encourage everyone who's tuning into the webinar to send in your questions via the Q&A function. We'll monitor that. And while you guys are thinking of those questions, we're actually going to ask one question that we'd like all of the alumni to answer. Here's our little icebreaker. What's one thing that would be really interesting for us to learn more about with what you did at BC to cultivate and explore the skills that you are using now? Did you pursue a major that relates to your current career, or was it something else that really pushed you towards what you're doing right now? Tim, if you're ready, I would love to have you start.
Well, it's good that you start with me because I'm sure the answers are just going to get better. We might as well start with me. They're just going to become, they're going to get incrementally better. When I, arrived at Boston College in 1985, I thought I would major in English because I got my best grades in English. And I went through 4 years of school doing a lot of things, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do once I graduated. I thought that I would graduate college, I would teach or get some kind of job in book publishing, whatever that was. And then in a few years, I would get discovered as America's hottest novelist of literature. And I'd be in Vanity Fair, and it would just be Skittles and beer from there on in. But one thing I did while I was an undergraduate was I wrote for the Heights. I wrote a column for the Heights and a couple of reviews for it. And I did that just to write, and just to get involved. I wasn't thinking I didn't have a grand plan for getting involved in journalism. But a couple of years after I graduated from BC, I had a job and then lost the job, and I needed to find work. And so I tried to get a job as a freelance reporter for a small community newspaper in Greater Boston. And I felt like an idiot, bringing in to my job interview these clips because I wrote a humorous column for the Heights. And I was like, how are they going to hire me, based on this? But they did hire me as a freelance reporter. And the fellow who was my editor-in-chief, who is still a friend of mine today, and who appears in my career guide, I'm an English major, now what, said to me, I asked him if he could give advice, for undergraduates, and he said that when he's hiring, he wants to see evidence that you can do what you say you can do. He wants to hold something and look at it and just not take your word for it. So the fact that I came in and I had even a couple of clips from the Heights, it was something besides me just saying, take my word for it, I know how to write. That was good for him. So usually when I do this event and I talk to undergraduates, I say, just try to get involved and get active and do, what you think you may want to do, and keep things in a portfolio, in a folder, because you never know how those things are going to serve you when you look for a job. People will be interested to see the tangible proof that you're doing what you want to do. That's my answer.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Erin, I want to ask you, because I know you majored in English and communication. Did you always know that you wanted to be an author, and how did BC kind of help you go on that path?
Yeah, thank you. I did, from when I was 7, I wanted to be an author. There was a little bit of time in there when I wanted to be a detective. But I was about 9 and my parents wouldn't set up a crime lab in my basement. So that dream died pretty quickly. And I went back to wanting to be a writer. And I wanted to be a writer because I loved to read. And I think there was a period of time when I didn't realize that people wrote books. I thought machines wrote books. And then when I found out it was a job, I was like, that's what I'm going to do because I like to read. So when I came to BC, I decided to major in English and communications, and they didn't have minors because I was also there in the last century. And I took classes with Professor Graver and Professor Bonnie Rudner, and took as many, short story writing classes as I could. And I also, because I had my communications major, I found out pretty quickly that the industry that I was most interested in was publishing, and I realized how valuable those writing skills were. So I got an internship between my sophomore and junior year with a magazine that was like a travel magazine in downtown Boston. And I stayed and I worked there over the summer, and it turned into a part-time job my junior and senior year. And I learned a ton about magazine publishing and working with editors and writing to a deadline. And by the time I left, I was actually able to, they gave me these small articles to write. So like Tim, I started sort of building my clips. And at the same time, I was taking classes in public speaking and writing. I did a PR class, and I still use those skills all the time as an author because I have to promote myself. I have to promote my books. We have publicists at the publishing companies, but they don't always have enough time to devote to my books the way that I would like. So I'm able to write my own press releases and send them out. And I thought for a long time I was going to be a writer for adults and write, the Great American Novel. And it was from taking Bonnie Rudner's class that I realized that my area of, my area of resonance was really writing for and about children. And so that set me on a trajectory to go to graduate school and really focus on writing for children. So I'd say BC gave me a fantastic foundation and some really concrete skills that I'm still using today in my career all these years later. So, and I was in the marching band, which was super fun.
Right, and definitely so formative. Thanks, Erin. Jeff, would you like to go next?
Sure. I actually came to BC thinking I was going to be like a good first generation kid. My family's from Haiti. I thought I was going to be a poli-sci economics double and become a corporate lawyer. And so, but when I was doing orientation, there was like a guy who was doing theater, and I kind of had some sort of interest in theater. I never did it in high school. And he told me to sign up as a theater major, to take intro to theater for theater majors, which was taught at the time by Scott Cummings. And when I walked into that class, I completely just forgot about corporate law and just completely focused on kind of wanting to do theater. Scott is still a mentor of mine. I talk to him all the time, well, as much as I can. Yeah, and so then from there, all I knew of theater at the time was like acting, and I thought the only contemporary playwrights were Shakespeare. And so then I learned a lot kind of about kind of like the shape of contemporary theater. And I remember my junior year kind of being in Ravsham in the green room before some play I probably was acting in, and I was a horrible actor. But I was kind of like not sure what I was going to do. It was around just before senior year, and I feel like Scott just popped out of nowhere. It's like, "You're going to be a writer. Come meet me in my office in a couple of days." And so I kind of was afraid of that. I graduated, moved to Chicago, was doing internships, living poorly, then moved to New York because I remember my uncle lived in Brooklyn, and so I could live for free. And I think what BC really did for me, and from there I went to grad school, what BC really did for me was really gave me, the way the theater program works, is just gave me both the confidence to try to pursue this career of writing, but also like you learn just everything from design to directing. And so like going into production in theater, I felt very, like I understood a lot more than I think some other playwrights coming out of school. And it's also just, I think also helped me just like confidence wise, like as I transitioned to TV and such. So yeah.
Awesome. Julian, I know you have a degree in political science and theology. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you went from that path to kind of where you are today?
How I escaped, yes. Well, yeah, much like Jeff, I thought I had it kind of figured out. I was going to be a poli-sci major. I was going to go work in government. I really did want to be a speechwriter. Like that was the weird goal. And then I remember taking a class called Public Administration at BC, and it's all about the wonderful world of the bureaucracy. And I think it broke me. And so I took a step back. It's like, okay, what am I going to actually, like, what do I care about? And that led to just, this is what I think was the cool thing about being in college in BC in particular, is there are so many mini worlds at that school and so many things going on simultaneously. We tend to be in our own bubbles, but I just through sheer confusion started tapping into a bunch of different things. So I got a job as a walking escort, you know, in the police department where you call if you need someone to walk you somewhere. In like 4 years, I got 3 calls. So it was more like just an interesting place to receive phone calls from drunk people who wanted a free ride somewhere. I set up for concerts. I did. There's like a student group that resods the baseball field. I did that. I was in the student government at UGBC. I did. Did you know? And I didn't know until very late in my BC career too that there's a recording studio in at BC that has really great soundproof recording rooms and like very knowledgeable people and really state of the art microphones and things like that. So I spent like 2 years just cutting a demo of music stuff. Like these are the things that you just kind of you ask around, you just see what's available, and that kind of got my mind racing as to what like maybe I will dedicate the second half of my college experience to trying some classes that I think are interesting for no other reason. So I did take some writing classes. I took a really great poetry class. I took a great creative writing class. Um, and I think what came of that was just this idea that yeah, maybe I do want to explore the writing world a little more, and I'm going to ask people, much like you know we're gathered here today, how they did it, and that led me down a path of internships. So I would cold email people that I found um, were doing things that I wanted to do, and or working at places that I wanted to work at, and I mean I was very fortunate that most people were nice and generally receptive to that sort of outreach from like a college student. You have to be like kind of a jerk to turn away a college kid who's like not sure about what they're doing with their life. So I did get lucky, and I that led to a couple of internships at um, Conan had the Tonight Show, Conan O'Brien's Tonight Show when it was in LA, and SNL. And then I just started doing stand up on a whim at college, in college, not on campus, because that wasn't really, I don't know if that's changed, but at the time there wasn't really a place to do it. So there were a lot of bar shows in the area. And so I just made friends with a couple people, and we'd hop around, and I met a really great community of people. Like you realize there's more people outside of the BC world when you go outside of the BC world. So it was really cool and encouraging. So partially to answer the long-winded answer, I think it was exploring the various worlds within BC for no other reason than curiosity, and then taking that interest off campus and seeing what other people were also doing related to comedy and humor writing. That's what did it for me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I personally really appreciated that answer. It definitely makes me feel a little bit better about how I'm doing right now as a college senior. Elizabeth, take us home.
I don't know if I can be quite so prescriptive about, I was an English major and film minor, and I did end up, I suppose, in the English and film world, though I became a journalist, and I don't think I took a single journalism class at BC. But I think for me, really what college is for many people is about finding yourself as a person, right? And looking back, I think the things that were most valuable and helpful at Boston College were sort of the weird classes I took. Like I remember I took a History 101 class that actually was framed around the idea that all of history is about fear of the other. And that stuck with me and kind of informed my writing. I took a trauma writing class that, the professor was sort of dealing with all of us writing about our own personal traumas. And that class really stuck with me. And I went on to write about trauma in a lot of my reporting and writing. And then in my thesis senior year, so often with theses, we get to really range wherever we want to. And that allows you, to try to find yourself as a person and to find your voice. And I know in my thesis, I framed it around study of different cities, but really it was a study of myself and writing about myself so that after that I wouldn't have to anymore. And doing that thesis made me feel like I never want to write about myself again, and I want to write about other people. And since then I almost exclusively had. So I think it's important in college to not always feel like you have to take a specific kind of class or a specific kind of major or do a thing to get from point A to point B, but to really focus on finding who you are as a person. I know it sounds cheesy, but it like is very, very true that like you will get to such a better spot and like closer to what it is that you really want to do as a person if you allow yourself to range the way that others have been talking about on this call, and just sort of like find out what it is that really makes you feel alive and makes you feel like you're using your superpowers that you have as a person to like the best of your ability. And I think just allowing that to not be something where you're trying to perform or trying to get ahead or climb some ladder, but instead just allowing yourself to be weird and find the things that make you tick. And that's more important than anything else.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. I definitely agree. College is a time to experiment and try new things. A few of you mentioned that you had kind of professors or people in your life who helped you get on the right path. I am curious as to what role mentorship has played in your life in general. It can be beyond BC with people that you're working with right now, and how those mentors have helped you along the way. Also, I do want to remind everyone who's here with us today that if you have additional questions, you can leave them in the chat, and we'll get to them in a bit. So, mentorship.
I'll dive in. Being a mentor and having mentors, I think, has been really, really important for me. When I decided that I wanted to start the process of trying to get a book published, even though I had worked in the industry, I'd worked for a publishing company, I still didn't really know, all the steps that you needed to take. And I was really fortunate to, in grad school, have professors who brought in writers to our classes to talk to us. And, through talking to my professors, and then again, sort of like the generosity of people, started to sort of form a network of other writers that to this day, I'm still in touch with some of those people that I met who really helped me sort of point me in the right direction on my journey. And then, as a teacher, I really value being able to work with students who are passionate, or even ones who are not sure, right, if this is something that they want to get into, and helping them figure out the path that's best for them, because it was certainly through other people helping me. And to this day, if I have questions, I have a group of people I can reach out to. And I just think having a network of people around you, supporting you, and who you can bounce ideas off of, and share successes and failures with, is so valuable. And you go a lot farther with other people than you can by yourself.
I found that, at least in college setting, finding just one professor that will help you, that will see you, that will see your voice and see the kind of writing that you're trying to do, see the kind of person that you're trying to become, and really see you. Connecting with that one person is like the most important thing in the world. And I had that at Boston College with Professor Ladd Tobin in the English department, who worked with me on my thesis. And he came to my book event a few months ago, which was just like a beautiful thing to have happen like 15 years later. And then ever since then in life, after having had Ladd as a mentor, I felt like I was always kind of searching for that person in different roles, like whether it was in a newsroom or at a magazine or whatever, I was like looking for that person. And often I think in life, if you can identify just like one person that will see you and help you and guide you, that's like the most important thing in the world. And you won't always find them. And I think there's a dearth of mentors in the world, and I try now to mentor. So if there's anyone here you know, that's a journalist or writer, documentary filmmaker and that's what they want to do, please email me and I will gladly help and gladly talk and gladly mentor you. But I think, yeah, just really taking the time to identify that, bug your professors, go to their office hours. You guys all know this, but the more that you can show up and be present yourself and show who you are, the more you're likely to find those mentors.
I'd say too that, you know, if you are fortunate enough to have an individual, be it a professor or someone else at Boston College who can be a mentor for you, or someone in your first jobs outside of college who can help you along, that's great, you know. But it's also true that you may have many mentors who are big and small all over your career. Someone, you know, can qualify as being a mentor for you just by saying something to you that sticks with you for the rest of your life. You know, and I think probably the takeaway is, you know, I remember when I was in my 20s and just starting out in the job field, I was very anxious about letting people know that I didn't know anything. And I had to sort of get over that hump to say, can I ask you a question? Because there's part of this I don't understand, or could you help me? Or could you direct me to someone who could help me to teach me how to do this? And I think, you know, the more that you do that, the more that you've heard, I think, people talk so far about opening yourself up to different experiences. I think part of that too is opening yourself up to say, I want to learn more, you know, about this. Can you help me? And if you can help me, can you refer me to someone who can? And that sort of opens you up to the possibility that you'll encounter someone who will mentor you. You know, when you're young and, you know, you want to appear like, you know what you're doing and you're in control of things, and you know, but you know, college teaches you that. I think it teaches you to open yourself up more. At least that's what it taught to me, to be able to say you have something to learn from everyone that you encounter. And so the more you open yourself up, the more questions you ask, to not feel bad about asking questions and follow-up questions, the more those experiences, those mentor experiences, big and small, I think will find you. And you know, you may end up having one person who is your mentor, or you may have lots of people, you know, over your career who have helped you.
I want to second what Tim just said. That's all been my experience too. Lots of different people have come into my life at various points. But one thing that stands out too is that it becomes almost, if you can express that vulnerability of that, you don't really know something, it becomes a little bit easier to ask as you continue down your path. Like, just being comfortable with not knowing is almost it's an asset in a way, because people love sharing more than you think. I mean, we're doing a panel. People love sharing what they know when given the opportunity. So kind of give people the opportunity to tell you something. That goes with the caveat of, if you respect them and they're doing something that you aspire to be doing one day, I mean, it would really surprise you. I think that's something, when I lived in New York, I would, not to say that BC didn't have it, I had a really hard time finding a mentor at BC. I had an idealized version of what I wanted it to be, where, like, you know, a teacher would be like, you know, you have so much more potential than you. That never happened. But I did have some great teachers. But it wasn't until I got to New York where I was like, well, I'm an idiot. I don't know anything. I'm going to just start asking people whose careers I really respect if if they'll humor me by answering a question. And I was really taken aback by how nice people were. And that may not be everyone's experience, but I think if you can humble yourself a little bit, it just gets easier with time.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for those amazing responses. I'm curious if any of you would like to speak about how you've seen COVID affect the work that you do, the fields that you're working in, your day-to-day versus, the philosophical what you do. And Jeff, if you don't mind starting, just because I know that you work in theater and I'm a theater kid myself. I'm working on some of the productions this fall. Just curious to see how you and your teammates have adapted to this new world.
It was very right before kind of the lockdown. I was in productions for a play that got shut down like the day before we opened, and so it has been this. It's just been this like interesting thing where like now I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what theater looks like outside of a traditional theatrical space. Where people are looking at what it means to be on Zoom. What does it mean to talking to your friend and they're like trying to open up, use an arena, use outdoor spaces. I think a lot of people are also just I think it's a lot of people are also just trying. I think theater is still trying to figure it out. I think everyone's just trying to use this moment both for like personal reflection, and I think just trying to figure out different ways of using theater, because theater has a way, especially during this time, to I think be able to really. I think what I loved about theater was that I felt like theater really has the ability to just kind of mirror what's going on in the world in a very specific way. And I do think that like what everyone's doing right now is just trying to figure out how we do that in a COVID world. How do we do that when we can't? Part of the magic of theater is being in a shared space, being communal with each other. And I think right now we're all still searching for the answers. That means more site-specific work. If that means doing more, how do we translate things over different mediums, over the internet or whatever. So I think we're all still in that sort of place right now. I wish I had more answers.
If one more person says that Shakespeare wrote King Lear during the plague, I'm going to kill them, because it's totally absurd that people should be more productive during a time of extreme stress. And I've been probably way less productive writing wise, and I think that's fine. There is a time to take things in, and then there is a time to write. And that's all I have to say about that. That be gentle with yourself if you're not able to write as well as maybe you felt you could before COVID, and things will change and they'll continue to change. So
yeah, just hopping on that. I think that is the most important thing. Is like just really being good to yourself, and really like you do not need to learn or write 20 plays while you're like in dealing with like the emotional stress of the world.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't write at all between March and like July. I think for me, I wasn't even reading, which is, I'm always reading something. And it just took a little while for me to find books that I, could get into again to sort of start to fill the well. And I started writing differently than I used to, and I'm certainly not, at where I would consider to be anywhere near like my pre-COVID productivity levels, and that's okay. And I have to keep telling myself that that's okay, because it's a global pandemic and the world is banana pants right now.
I think there's a few questions from students.
Awesome. So we're going to move on to some audience questions. We have one asking about grad school. And the question is, do you recommend going right after college to grad school, or taking some time to work first? So if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Take the time in the world. I took 3 years before grad school, and it was like the greatest. Like I think have fun. I think also part of like being an artist and writing is also about like experiencing the world at large. And I think part of that's also finding your voice, finding who you are. But I think it's just really important to just give yourself some space, especially if you've just been in like academia from like 5 until 22. It is just a good thing to do. And also it helps with just like building your own kind of material in your portfolio as such.
I second that. And I suggest to people that they talk to people who have been through graduate school in the area that they are interested in. When I was an undergraduate in college, I had no idea what graduate school was like. I assumed it was just like undergraduate. It is not. It's very different, with a different schedule and a different set of expectations. Graduate school may or may not be, a graduate degree may or may not be necessary in the job that you want. So I think the more people you talk to, I mean, I hate to put it on these kind of terms, because we're talking about education, but if you were going to buy a certain type of car, you would want to talk to people who have that car, to say, how is it, or what's your experience? Or if you're trying to decide whether you should go abroad to Spain or to France, talk to people who have been there. Ask them questions. Ask them, what they would tell you, when you were young and trying to figure out if you were going to do it. And just gather as much information as you can. I don't know what there is to be gained by going straight to undergraduate right into graduate school. You can always take time off and then return to graduate school. So that's my 2 cents.
I didn't go to graduate school. There are plenty of people that I worked with who did. USC, for instance, or NYU have really great programs for screenwriting and television writing. The thing is, like, no one asks you if you have an advanced degree in the writer's room. Like, it will translate into whether or not your sample, your pilot script that you're using as your resume is good. That's kind of what it comes down to in my line of work. Sometimes graduate school seems like it's a great opportunity to focus. So I'm not like particularly great at self-motivating, but we all kind of have to. But maybe I could have benefited from 2 years of really focusing on, diving into TV writing. But I did it in different ways, through practical experiences like jobs, etc. But at the end of the day, it doesn't seem to dictate, in my experience and the people I've worked with, doesn't seem to dictate who is getting hired versus who isn't. That's maybe particular to the TV writing world.
And when it comes to fiction, I'll tell you, like, I did go straight to grad school. You don't have to. You don't have to go at all. You have to read a lot, you have to write, and you have to develop your craft. And for me, like I said, BC didn't have a creative writing minor when I was there. So when I went to grad school, I was looking for how do I do this? How do I learn my craft? And what I realized pretty quickly was you find a community who you can learn from and learn with, and you don't have to go to grad school for that. If you have a burning desire to, again, take the time, but you don't need to in this industry at all.
Thank you, guys. And an extra shout out to Tim for answering that question live and then also typing a response to it. I encourage you guys watching to open up the Q&A box and kind of see his typed out responses. Tatiana, were you going to answer this latest question live? Then I can ask it. What internships do you guys recommend for a person interested in theater or creative writing? Where can you find these kinds of internships as well?
For theater, I would, depending on what you're looking for, I did a lot of internships in literary offices in both Chicago and New York. They typically have, I mean, and then it becomes like financial questions, which we can talk about, but then you usually have them on their websites. You can do like season-long internships, or you can do like summers. Yeah, I think most theaters, depending on whatever city you want to move to, has, and I think it takes some time to really think about like the work the theater does. If you're a writer, a lot of the companies I looked at are like the writers I loved, and like where their work was being produced, and then kind of focusing on those places in particular. And also I tried to focus on theaters that give stipends, because that was very helpful. Yeah.
For the like comedy writing in particular, the way that I did it, and I would recommend, is to look at the shows that you enjoy watching or something that you would like to be doing. More often than not, the shows that do have the most internships available are the late night shows. So in New York, you have Colbert, you have The Daily Show, and SNL, a bunch of others that I'm not remembering right now. LA has a few of those as well. It's typically a little bit harder to get a sitcom. I don't know if they have drama or sitcom internships, possibly at the production companies themselves. But the way to find out about them is to, again, see if there are people who have done them before. A quick Google search will tell you that. Like Conan, for instance, has a long list of people who are now working in TV who have been interns, John Krasinski and Mindy Kaling and many others. So I think it all starts with figure out which shows you would like to be working on or for, and then you go from there and ask who's in charge. You'll find a lot of stuff on Google these days. It's pretty good.
And how can we stand out when we're applying for these competitive internships?
I'd go back to what I said before. If you're able to develop a series of clips or a portfolio while you're in college, that can set you apart. Being clear, I'd say, about what you want to get out of the internship, clarity of vision as to what you want to get may help you stand out, and just bringing your whole self to the application. How do you stand out if you're in a group of a room full of 20 people? How do you stand out? Well, you be yourself. Don't be afraid to bring forward what you think makes you you, so that they'll be able to say, oh, I remember so-and-so, they did, and something that's unique to you. So I know that sounds corny, to be yourself, but usually, so often when we're applying for a job, we feel like we have to present this kind of professional persona to people, where really you just be yourself, be who you are. And people will remember you, I think, if you do that.
I also think it helps to reach out to people directly. So when I was going for my first internships and jobs, I emailed writers and editors that I admired directly and asked them all for coffees. And I went on like basically a rampage and emailed like 100 of these people. And I told all of them I had read all of their work, which was like mostly true. And I like stayed up all night reading a lot of their work so I could email them in the morning and be like, I've read everything you've ever written and I'd love for you to go to coffee with me. And almost every single one of them said yes. So I would never submit for an internship through the black hole of like a resume portal in a million years. To me, that's just like a complete waste of time. I'm sure it's worked for some people, but like for me, it just was always about like making individual connections, and just like really reaching out to people directly.
I also think, a lot of times you try to go into an interview and sort of play it cool. And there is nothing better than saying to somebody, I really want to work with you. I really want to learn from you. This is important to me. And just being upfront with, this is the place that you want to be, and you're the person I want to learn from, because people respond to that. And even if it's not something that they can give you right then, like Tim said, they're going to remember you, and you never know what door is going to open up for you from that connection.
Awesome. Thank you guys. We have another question about how often you practice writing. I know we kind of touched on this in our discussion about how COVID impacts you, but normally how often do you sit down and write, and how important do you think it is to do it consistently?
Well, going back to kind of the grad school conversation, one of the things I really remember from grad school is like really about process and like learning what my process is and like not trying to fall into anyone else's formula of a process. But for me, I tried to make it like a job. So I tried to make sure I like sit down for at least every day 3 to 4 hours to work. And that can mean sometimes literally just staring at a blank screen or like reading a book or like reading an article or just doing research. But whatever that dedicated 3 to 4 hours looks like doesn't always necessarily mean I'm like typing away or, but yeah, I try to dedicate at least 3 to 4 hours a day to it.
I don't write every day. I'm a professor. I have 2 small kids. I have, a lot. So for me, I really have to carve out my writing time during the week. And pre-COVID real life, I would write about 4 days a week. And like Jeff, when I wrote, I would sit down for 3 hours at a stretch. But in between time, I have a notebook that I use for every project that I'm working on has a different notebook, and I carry that around with me. So on days that I'm not writing, if I have an idea or something occurs to me, I can jot it down, and I have a specific place for it. And I have friends who do it through their phones or in their notes app. And I think that having that place to put those thoughts is really important for me, because then when I go to sit down, I can, pick right up from where I left off and get back into the work that I'm doing very quickly.
Man, I can't second that enough. Having a good notepad is like one of the few perks to being a writer. I sometimes I do my writing in a legal pad because it feels like serious business. It's dumb, but whatever. I carry that around everywhere. And as far as I also don't physically write every day, but I do think that this is one of those like careers that is like sort of all consuming, and you don't know when you're kind of always thinking about it, whether or not you're doing it physically. So I find that going on walks is really helpful for me to sort out through, how I want a story to work out. My process, kind of what Jeff was saying, is one where I have to psych myself up about an idea. If I can get myself super excited about something, that's like I ride that wave as long as I can to get it done. So sometimes way harder than it needs to be. That's when you're like writing your own projects. Sometimes you are asked to do something, or you have to turn something around really quickly, and then you just kind of grind it out. But as far as like working on my own stuff, constant struggle. It's not easy, but I find that having like a place to write things down, a little serenity, whether or not it's a walk or listening to music, something else, is kind of the most helpful thing to writing for me.
I had 2 friends who were PhD candidates and were both working on their dissertations at the same time. And they were a couple. They were married to each other, and both were working on their dissertations. If none of the students know, a dissertation is like a term paper on steroids. It is a massive, massive writing project. And I was working on a very large creative project at the time. So I went to these 2 friends of mine. I said, do you have any advice on just how to how do you do it? How do you do it? And one of my friends, the woman in the couple said, my dissertation is my baby. And I have to spend time with my baby every day. You know, it's maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, but I can't just ignore my baby. It's my baby. Then the man in the couple said, well, I think of, and he saw it a different way. His dissertation was something different to him. And the woman said, think of your project in whatever way you need to that is going to get the words on the page and get it done. I'm not a great believer that there is some kind of universal writing advice. You need to write this many hours, this many days, in this type of environment. What I hope people are hearing from these answers so far is that it's very individual. You need to figure out what's going to work for you. However you think about your writing, whether you think of it as a job or your mission in life or an expression of who you are, think of it in such a way that is going to get the words on the page. One of the best, and to that end, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, Tim, it doesn't need to be perfect, but it does have to exist. It can't stay up here. Just get it onto the page, and we'll take it from there. And don't get hung up about, oh, did I write for 1 hour or 2 hours? Did I write it? It has to exist. So figure out a way that is going to be most conducive, to getting the words on the page.
Thank you. So much good advice and so much wisdom from all of you guys. But I'm going to ask you for one more nugget of information before I pass it off to Tatiana. Could you give us one action item or one thing that a BC student can do either tonight when they log off the Zoom or tomorrow when they wake up to put them on a trajectory towards success? One tangible action item. Whether it's, buying a really good notebook or taking a walk.
I'd say follow the people that you admire in that field on social media and start to learn about that industry that you are most interested in.
And it may be because we're in COVID, but just keep fueling your tank, whatever that means, whether it is just kind of like listening to music or Googling like your favorite artist, just kind of keep that tank full as much as possible.
I'll give you an action item. I think, okay, for this specific, I'll be as specific as possible for TV or I guess drama writers as well. Pick a show that you really like, that you wish you could write on, and find the pilot script of that and read that script. Start there.
I'll give two things. One is to take some time and journal about what it is you really want to do, if there were no restraints, and then do that again every so often. And I guess the second thing is just to read. The most important thing to me to becoming a good writer is reading all the time, widely, really widely, like things that aren't necessarily in your wheelhouse, because books that aren't necessarily in your wheelhouse will send some neurons firing that you wouldn't otherwise have those ideas, and just keep reading every day.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. I just want to give a big virtual round of applause to everyone for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure getting to know some of you better and continuing our friendships from years past. And I wanted to give a special thank you to Ali and Eleni for guiding us through the evening, as well as everyone else here for joining us as attendees. So right now we're going to end up putting in the chat the 2 links to the after parties. You can join us for one or of 2 or both of them, completely up to you. These are areas where you can ask additional personal questions and just talk to the panelists, do some virtual networking. We will also bring any questions. I think we actually finished all of our questions out, which is fantastic. So make sure you're coming with more questions. I know I have a few follow-ups in the panel I'll be in after this. So these links are for separate Zoom meetups, so it's not within this webinar. So again, they're in your chat. Feel free to click on that and exit out. And thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see you at the after party.